Morning everybody. Today's maintenance is going to include changing your sprockets and chain, and this should be relevant from 2017 all the way to 2026. Not much hardware wise has been changed, software yes. So yeah, some of the basic tools you will need obviously is a grinder or a file for to get the chain apart. I've got the chain breaker kit, some calipers to measure, but yeah, we're gonna get into it shortly. Okay, so we're gonna start by, you'll need two Allen wrenches. I think this is a 3mm and this is a 5. Not 100% sure. I have to check that, but we're just going to go start removing these Allen bolts quickly. Okay, we're going to head over to the other side. We'll resume there. I don't know how clear this side is going to be, as all the height, because I'm working, especially this side. I can't keep moving the bike around, so I'm going to go by removing these 3 fairing bolts on this side as well. Let me get in, go ahead and start doing that. As you guys can see, it's that bolt there, that bolt there. We're moving over to this side, yeah? Well, okay, so once you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Yeah, so we've got all our Allen bolts out, the 5 this side, 5 that side. So this, we're just going to wiggle a bit. Like I say, this is just a little bit of gentle persuasion, wiggling it and getting the clips loose. Obviously try not to break anything, and then we're just going to take this out, slide it out from the other side, so you've got your kickstand in the way here. Step 2 will be to remove the quick shifter, your shift bar, whatever you want to call it, as this will get in the way here. So this bolt here is a 10mm. I'm just using a 10mm spanner. I do want to show you guys something as well here. If you notice, there's a little notch here that normally, to align this, it needs to be where the brake is. That little notch needs to line up with where that brake is, for reference, for alignment purposes. So let's go ahead and proceed to remove the quick shifter. One little note with this is you guys will have to completely remove the little bolt to get it off, because it like runs through on the side of the shaft, so you won't be able to get it off just by loosening it. It'll be on there, so you'll have to remove this bolt completely. Once that's out, we should just be able to, in fact this one's just pulling off very nicely. There we go. And then, okay, so what we're going to do now is there's two bolts, one at the bottom here. I don't know how clearly you guys can see that. I'm just going to loosen that, and one at the top here. Loosen that one. Just going to put this here. Okay, let's get up close. What I do is I'm going to remove this cover. You'll see it's pretty loose now. I'm going to get it out here. And then the bolts we took out from the top and the bottom, I screw them back in. It's just easier so things never get lost. Same with this quick shifter bolt. I will run it back through here, put it back in here. Just so that things stay together, and they don't get lost, and you know which bolt came out exactly where. So yeah, I'll put that back there. I'm just going to put this here, remove this cover. Let's check for little cables and connectors, wires that run through this little plastic plate as well. So what I am going to do here, it's a little bit of a struggle, so I am going to actually remove this little bar so they're totally disconnected, so I can get the quick shifter totally out of the way. Yeah, I think that's going to be the best in trying to get it past this little piece. As you can see there now, undid that. Now this cover should just come out right away. There's nothing in its way anymore. But yeah, you need this section open when working here. So as you can see, mine's actually not that bad, but I have a feeling I cleaned it once a little while ago, so it's not that bad. Big part is to remove this front sprocket nut. What I've got my trusty little helper here, stepping on the back brake for me. I'm not a fan of impacts, whether it's loose or tightening. Never tighten with the impact. Loosen you can if a bolt's really stubborn, yeah, so we're gonna proceed to loosen this bolt. I'm also not a fan of sticking things through the swing arm and locking the rear wheel that way. If you have like BST rims or any special rims, you can crack spokes. Even with these aluminium rims, you can also break a rim. So I'm not a fan of that. I mean, there are guys who do it. I'm just not a fan. I use the rear brake. I put a little bit of a rock in there, so that just helps with the bike moving forwards. And normally they do come loose, and unless it's been, they've applied Loctite or something there, but they normally come loose with the rear brake. So that's the method I'm going to be using here. So my son's just going to step on that rear brake for me. Hey, trappel. Hey, Joe. And as you can see, it wasn't much effort to loosen that. So from here you can just turn this out. I'm not removing it yet. I'm keeping it hand tight because I want to take a grinder and grind. I've got a chain braking tool for this, but if you use your chain breaker tool to just shear these little sides off, your tool's going to last about 1 or 2 rounds, and then it's going to bend and break. So what I like to do is I like to grind these flat and flush with this steel plate. Then obviously your riveting chain breaker tool goes through this easily. I am just going to cover the bike so that the grinding sparks stay one way. So yeah, that's the next step. You guys can see I've put a little bit of a cloth behind it. Make sure this cloth obviously doesn't get in the way of the grinder wheel. But we are going to be grinding these 2 mushroom heads off here. Okay, and as you guys can see there, I've just grinded off just the 2 mushroom heads on that one link. We're going to use our chain breaker tool to break it there. That's the best. You can use a file. You're going to file for a long time. Yeah, the best is just a little angle grinder, baby grinder, and just remove it that way. I just put that there so the sparks don't damage my rim. So we'll get to breaking the chain. I've got my chain breaker tool, riveting tool. You guys might have a different one, so it might be different. I'm just gonna assemble this here. So the link that's there, you'll see it's off the stand again. It's just to keep the bike more secure when you're doing this kind of stuff. I put the stand in when I need it. So at the back, I also didn't need to grind both. You can just grind one. With this angle, it will find that little hole there. And on my tool, we're going to use position A to break the chain. The exact spot, I don't know if you guys can see in there, but at the back it should be somewhere around there. But once we start pressing it, I should be able to see. So let me just get my spanners here. And there we go. There's the chain spin pushed out. See, as you get the pin out, the chain just falls apart, and you can see the 2 little X-rings, O-rings, whatever this thing had. They look more like O-rings. Here's a little pin. Chain's off. I'm going to put the bike back on the stand, and then I'm going to remove the chain. We know the front sprocket's loose. So from here, we're going to proceed to remove the rear wheel, and yeah, we'll carry on from there. I'll show you the next steps as I go along. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and remove the old chain. Should just be coming out. Here we go, there's the old chain, all crusty and nasty. So from here we can remove this front sprocket. The new sprockets, you guys will notice, won't have this rubber piece on it. This rubber piece, they'll just be steel. This is just to dampen some of the, I don't know, draft terrain noise or something, but most of the new aftermarket sprockets you won't have that. See, I've taken it from off the stand again. We're going to be removing our rear axle bolt, so best to do that on the ground so that the tire can't turn. We're going to go over to this side. I've already got my 36mm socket for these newer ones. The 2017 up is a 36. I think they used to be a 32. And you guys can probably see that bolt there, the axle nut. There we go. And I'm just going to loosen it. Like that should be fine, so we can get the bike back on the stand. Okay, so we've loosened the rear bolt here. Just going to loosen this further. Got your bolt, got your washer. I'm gonna put them at the bottom here. And then from here, this isn't really very hard. Just needs a little bit of a whack there. Let me get my tool the other way. Sometimes just a nice little knife just to get it moving. This one's quite fast. We removed the axle with great difficulty, and now you guys will see you need to try and do this in one motion. I'm going to take this brake out. You need to slide your brake caliper back with the wheel, lift it up, support this. There we go. And because your ABS wheel speed sensor sits here, so you don't want to whack this into that little plate there. It'll damage this goodie here. And on the back here, you guys will see, well, while you try and do it in one motion, putting it back is the same. We're going to be sliding it like that. So what I tend to do while I'm busy is I will put the axle back just to support everything there. So as you can see, while my axle was giving me a problem, it's all rusted and dry. So we'll fix that with assembly again. For now, I'm just going to stick it through to keep this brake in place. And then, yeah, we have to carry on removing the rear sprockets from the rim. So it's a 17mm to remove these bolts here. I do them in like a crisscross pattern. I've loosened them slightly, but I do like that, loosening them as well. One thing to look out for with these bolts, there's a washer beneath each one. So what I like to do is stack these washers and bolts along the tire as I'm removing them. I'll put the same bolts in the same spot. And then the sprocket will just come off like that. I'm going to be cleaning everything here, and then I'll be back with a new sprocket soon. Okay, so we're going to be installing the new sprocket. And these holes will line up pretty much, it'll just slip on. So what I've done is just put this centerpiece back on the cush rubbers with my little studs. Now all we're going to do is stick the sprocket back on, and as you can see, it actually just like slides out, kind of nice. Put the washers on, make sure the flat piece, the sharp piece, goes down. Some of them it can be hard to see, but you will be able to spot it. There we go. I've got all our washers on there. Yeah, as you guys can see there, got all our washers on. And I put the nuts where they more or less belong on the wheel, where they came out of. Making them all hand tight, so then we're going to get a torque wrench, put something on the screen as well. These are 64 Newton meters of torque. So let me just go get my torque wrench, but before we do that, I'm just going to give each one of them just a little snug, just in a crisscross kind of fashion. They are lock washers, so you don't need any thread lock of any kind of these. They're lock nuts. Yeah, so let me just get these all snug. Okay, coming in a sec. So we've got our torque wrench set to 64 newtons, and we're just going to torque this in a crisscross pattern. I just get them all tight before I start really getting them down. Okay, so from here onwards, I'm going to start torquing them down. That should be all of them. And there we go. Now we got this baby torqued to 64 Newton meters. So, be back in a sec. Okay, so as you guys can see, we are in the process of reinstalling the rear wheel. But what you want to do here, I don't know how successful I'm going to be by trying to show you guys this and trying to hold the brake caliper because it might fall. But in here where your brakes go, you need to open this part so it goes over the rim easily, because you guys don't want to struggle with that thing. As you can see, mine is actually pinched closed a bit, so I'm just going to open this gap so that it'll go over your brake disc easily. And as you guys can see now, I've opened that up quite a bit so that it goes over the rim easily. And then you've got to slide it in there with the rim. It's going to be hard once I'm doing it to exactly show you guys what's happening here, but you want to basically slide this all in together. Okay, so let's get this rear wheel back. This is quite a tricky part. Just get this brake caliper off here. This part is a hard part, so that's why I said I'm not going to be able to show you exactly on the camera how it's supposed to be done, because okay, I don't know how well you guys can see there, but I'm going to start working this shaft through there on the side. Okay, it's in. So as you guys can see, the shaft is through. We're going to be with a 12mm and a 10mm loosening that nut, turning this nut just past where the wheel cannot go any further up. Same with this side, so that when we do put in our chain, we can see how many links we need to shorten it by. Okay everyone, as you can see, I cleaned up this area really well, cleaned out all the dirt, and what I do with the splines, I put a super thin layer of grease on the shaft, but no build-ups, no, not a lot, just so it's not bare metal on bare metal. I've cleaned it. I'm going to be reinstalling the front sprocket. I won't be tightening it down because I need the chain and everything else on there, but yeah, that is a clean. Let me see if I can get a little bit better light on there. As you guys can see in there, it's all clean, with a light film of grease. Okay, and one thing you guys don't want to do is ever get any grease in your threads there, because it'll mess with your torque specs. It'll mess with, if you want to apply a thread locker. I do. This bolt is only 54 Newton meters of torque. So what I tend to do is put like just on the first 3/10 of the nut, put a little bit of thread locker. I'm not going to do that at this stage. I'm just going to put the sprocket on. Just put the bolt in by hand to get the chain on. Okay, let's see if I can move this camera a little bit. And now the sprocket's writing must be facing towards you, especially on the PBR sprockets. And this is the standard gearing on these bikes, 1643, and it's exactly what I'm running on this. So we're just gonna stick this baby on there, and as you can see, it slides on so smooth. Very smooth. I'm going to take my bolt here. You'll see if you turn, especially the PBR sprockets, if you turn them the other way around, you'll see it. It's not a flush fit. It doesn't go, it's like sticks out. It's uncomfortable. So, but always make that sure with the sprockets you're installing. But most of the time it's facing towards you. So I'm just going to put this bolt back and just hand tighten it for now, because we need the chain to do the next pass, to really fasten this front sprocket. Yeah, you need the chain. So I'll be back to feed that on and to see. I know it's a 120 link chain, and I'm gonna have to take 4 links out, so I will do that. I'll do that off camera, take the links up, but I just always like to make sure on the motorcycle. Okay, here's our new chain. So just gonna get this out the box. I like sticking with the DID, the Super Street, especially this 525 ZVM X2. It's a good chain, super strong. They don't stretch as easy. I've had them on my other bikes as well. Well, the ZVM, not the 2, but the X. I think it's Gen 1. This is 120 links, like I said, so I'm going to have to take some out. These Hondas require 116 with stock gearing. So when you run a 16 in front and a 43 at the back, you're going to be running 116 links on this chain, so we have to take out 4. Let's get that box away. So I'm going to take my master link and all the goodies that are in there, and then just stick them one side here. We're going to use them just now. I'm just going to make sure. So this is how we get the chain. What I like to do is, I'm just going to turn the camera a little bit, is keep this paper on the ground so that the chain doesn't unnecessarily touch the concrete and gets grit and stuff on it. So what I will do is, after I have installed the chain and riveted the chain and everything, I'll wipe off all this excess outer grease. It's very important for these chains to, the stock grease that they put in is very good grease for the running period of this chain. What I normally do is I just wipe the outside and put some of my Bel-Ray super clean chain lube on there to lock it all in, as that prevents the stuff from filling in. It's just works in lacquer. So I'm going to start by unfolding this chain here. I'm just going to start by feeding it on here. It will go around, we'll have to pull it this side. I do tend to pull a little bit of chain, put the chain on here. And when I've got a long enough piece, the bottom here, go through the top, put it on the chain guide there. I just feed it through till I get to the front, and then don't know how well you guys will be able to see this, but as I'm getting to the front I will try and show you guys here. Let me move this whole camera closer. So as we get to the front, I'll keep feeding it from the back. Then I'll take this chain here, feed it onto this front, and I'll use my finger at the bottom here and just pull the chain right around. And you'll see it actually runs like right up there. Make sure that I've got enough slack there, and then just keep feeding it here. Watch your fingers. I just keep feeding it here, and then it'll come out here now. There we go. And then I just pull it here. I don't know if you guys can still see. Let me go up to the back. You have the idea of what's happening here now. Let's see if we can move this. And I'm just going to keep pulling this chain till these two parts link up here. But I know this chain is plenty too long. So what we want to do here is, if you guys, I don't know how clearly you guys can see this, but you always want to cut a chain so that you have two inners. That's an inner, and so I'm going to have to grind this rivet, and if you had to count these links, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll be this oaky here. Let me see if I can have it stick there. Bring the camera closer, show you guys. Okay, maybe that'll work. So as you can see here, I'm going to be marking this link here because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to remove it. Inner, once this is removed, I'll be at an inner, and then we will put our master link through there. I hope that explains that for you guys. But yeah, let me get to breaking. What I'll do is I'll grind this end off. Like I say, you never try. You can use your tool to push this straight through, but most of the times you're going to use your tool once or twice and it's going to break. These are extremely hard, especially these new ZV MX2 chains. They're extremely hard. They break a tool fast with these shroomed ends like that. So just grind it off and then push it through, and then you know you're good to go. And as you guys can see, you can see there, I just grind off just the rivet, and now I'm going to use my chain breaker just to push that out. Morning everybody. A little part I forgot that the camera wasn't recording, but I'll just give you an illustration afterwards. you guys saw me put on the chain, your master link. I've got a spare one here, and I've got, as you guys can see, here's your master link, which then obviously once I had to cut my chain 4 links, I took out the 4 links, I showed you guys how to do that. Then once you're done and you have your master link, look, I have a little bit of OCD, so I always look at the way the writing is and the way of the back of the chain, and I put it on the same way, but I don't think that really will matter. Same with the DID, have the DID facing outward, not just the blank piece at the back. So what you do is, with your master link, you'll put your grease that they give you, grease these pins on the inside here, grease them all really well with this grease that they give you, and then once you've greased that, you're going to add your 2 O-rings. I'll give you a quick demonstration of that. So once you've greased your master link, you're gonna what you would do is take some of that grease with your fingers and just grease these by just rubbing them like this, and then sliding them on like so. Both sides, grease this one as well, slide them on, and then from the back, like I say, I like to check the writing, check what the writing says at the back, and then where your chain joins, I normally join it on the back here. I have the 2 points meet about here, because they more or less stay in place without the chain falling off this side or coming out this side, and then I just push it in from the back with the grease, and also grease these shafts. Make sure they've got a decent amount of grease. I use the whole little packet, and then as you're pushing it through, I like to keep my thumbs where they come through, because then it like forces the grease to go flat at these ends, if you know. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but as they're coming through, I just put my thumbs on them, and then it forces the excess grease that is pushing through, pushes flat on here, and then I just rub them around on the master link. And then once they've come through, you put your O-rings, do the same, grease these O-rings again, put them on like that. They'll sit about there on both, and then once you've done that and they're greased up, grease the rest, use the rest of the grease on this section here. Then you put your little plate on like that. I normally push it with my hand, and with the grease it actually stays in place. This one will probably as well. Normally stays in place like that. And then you will use your, and after that, and you've done that and you've pushed it on more or less, you move the chain, the master link, all the way around and to about here, where you can see I've already got mine there. Actually a little bit further, you'd move it up to about there so that your tool can work properly. So you'll have them here, and you'll have your tool. And the reason why I don't show the tool is everybody's got different tools. I've got the KM500R DID tool, but there's a lot of them, like Motion Pro has, PBR has one, Motion Pro. There's a few of them that have chain breaker riveting tools, and they all work a little bit different. With the KM500R, you have a plate that you put on your master link here, and you on the master link on the plate, and you can push this in. Like I said, the tools are different, but you guys get the idea. Then you press this plate on, and what I like to do is I like to measure as I'm going. I just want to get my vernier caliper here. As you're pushing this outside plate, I like to measure with the vernier calipers. I set them there, close them, lock it up, and then I like to check here. Okay, I measure them on a link that's already done, and then I go back to my link and I measure that, and so that you can can see there that all this, it'll have a measurement value there, but the chains are different, depends what chains you're working on. So, but making sure your link here, your normal links in the chain is the same, the side plate, the measurement is the same. You know you haven't pushed this plate too far in. And take your time with this, because if you do get it wrong, you're gonna, if you pinch this too much, it's gonna bind. Your chain at the end of the day must have play in there. The links must be smooth. I mean, there must be no binding. And then, so yeah, you use your vernier calipers, measure from the top, check the reading, and then check the reading of this one here. Make sure that they the same or close as to, I mean, you can go like a millimeter maybe tighter or two, and it still won't bind, but you really want to try and stay exactly what these are, the normal ones are, to what this is. They need to be more or less the same. If you can, then obviously it works the best. And then the same with the riveting. I didn't go through the riveting. Like I say, my tool's very different. My riveting tool actually will stop, and it will disallow an overflare of these pins. So what I do here is you also you measure these, you check their size, and then once you know, okay, that's the size of this, you flare this to more or less the same size. So as you can see there, they more or less stays the same size. So I flare the rivets the same size as these okies, then I know it's lacquer. So that's what I do. On a lot of these chains, they'll give you a spec. Like I know this specific chain, the ZVMX2, they say from 5.5 to 6 millimeters. But at 6 is the limit. So if you do, I wouldn't do exactly 6. Sometimes they start cracking, and if it cracks when you've overflared it, then obviously the master link's useless. So what I normally do is I aim for 5.8 millimeters. So you start with, I think it's, I don't know exactly on this chain what it was, but you start with, I think it's 5.4, 5.3, and then you flare this to 5.8. That's what I do. So it's just under the 6, and I know I'm within the safety. But if you don't have any of that, like I say, just measure one of those, flare this the same as that, and then you'd be good to go on that front of things. Okay, what we're going to need for our next part is adjusting our chain. So what we're going to do there is, I've already, like I say, the camera wasn't recording, so I've already done that partially, and then I stopped and carried on the next day. But what you're going to want to have is your 12 millimeter and your 10 millimeter, your lock nut. You have your lock nut. You're going to loosen your lock nut, and then this 10 millimeter you're going to adjust either outwards, obviously tightening the chain, or in to give it slack. So it's your 12 and your 10 millimeter. So, and whatever you do this side, you're going to do that side. So you'll see there's little notches here that you line up. So you just count them. I normally count from the back because it's a less amount of counting. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've lined up this end of the block with that little 6 there. I've done the same on the other side. Whatever you do this side, you do the same the other side. Also same 2 little spanners, unlock them, turn them till they line up exactly there, and then once you've done that, obviously you've loosened your, let me show you guys here. It will be a little bit darker on this side. Let me see if I can put on the light. So you see on this side, I've loosened my axle bolt to where I can almost turn it with my hand, just so you have, so it moves. Like I say, on this side, you'll see it's now everything's a little bit loose, but it's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I haven't locked this side at all. You'll see the lock nut is still there, because what I like to do is I like to, on both sides, measure with vernier calipers as well for alignment purposes. I mean, you could get yourself a Motion Pro alignment tool, take off this cover and point it right down the chain. That gives you, see if your alignment is good. But what I normally tend to do, and the alignments normally, and over the years I've done it, is I normally take my vernier and I put it on the back there, and I go to the end of the swing arm there, and I measure that, and I see what the reading is there, and I do the same on the other side to see that it's accurate. Because it's very rare, but it can happen where these little lines are not accurate, but it's very rare. I mean, these guys design these things quite proper. So what I normally just like to do is to double check, is just to put this vernier there, put it at the end there, check the reading, which then, well, I think it was 17 millimeters or something. Yeah, 17 and a little bit, from the end of the block to the end of the swing arm. And I do the same on the other side, and that more or less is how I line it, and I've never really had issues. So what you do, once you've loosened everything and you've got your lock nuts loose on both sides, you will, to measure, the Honda's manual doesn't exactly say where you need to measure. They say in the half of the two sprockets, which I know the distance is 68.5, and the half of that is 34. I'm just going to say 34. So I'll just measure 34 here. The problem is, if you do that on the bike, a 34 lines up with this piece of plastic here, and you won't get a clear measurement if you include this. So what I do is I go with my tape measure just behind this piece of plastic, and in my case I'm using, you can use any one of these pin heads. I normally just check it like this, have it more or less straight there, and then what I do is I pull the chain down and I see, okay, that's about 50, and I pull it up and I see, okay, that's about 17. So what I do then is you subtract the top number from the bottom. So I'll just use my calculator for this. 50 minus 17 gives you 33. So it's on the looser side. Honda recommends 25 to 35. But what I do is, you guys will see one key difference. I've got it on the side stand. Honda recommends to do this. I've got it on the paddock stand. Honda recommends to do this on the side stand. So what I've done over the years, and I know it works, if I take the spike off, the chain slack will be exactly 30. So this slack here, what the paddock stand is causing, obviously the swing arm to rest a little bit more. So I know it'll be 30 if I take it off this paddock stand, and then we right in between Honda's two marks. I like to always be on the looser side of things, not past 35, but on the looser side of things, then on the tighter side of things, because remember, your suspension has travel. So if you're riding and you're hitting bumps, it'll tighten, it'll tension this chain up. So I mean, you don't want it at the 25. You can at the 25, that's the limit there, but I mean, I tend to just go lower. It just doesn't put any stress on your output shaft or on your anything, and things wear properly. You'll get your on a good chain 20,000 plus kilometers, 25,000 plus kilometers on a chain like this, and these sprockets. So yeah, not too tight, more on the looser side, but you guys get the idea. You measure your travel from here, you push it down, okay, that's 50, that's 17, and you subtract the top number from the bottom and you get a value, and that is what your slack is. I know mine is 33, and when I put it off the stand it'll be 30. So I'm right in between Honda's two marks. So that's how you measure and set your chain. And then obviously after you've got what you needed now and your numbers are nice, to lock the wheel against these blocks, because what will happen is obviously the wheel will now slide back because there's the axle bolt is loose. So what I tend to do is I take a rag at the bottom here, so, and I just stick it in here to lock it against these blocks. I stick it in here and I just turn it quite quick to tension the chain. And you can actually, I don't know if you heard the little click, if you listen here, that's the other side locking, because I haven't got the lock nut in or anything, and the axle, so you can hear it's moved a little bit away, but this rag is now putting tension on everything here, and it's causing it to lock up against your little nut that adjusts. Then from here, you do that, you got your right measurement, you go and lock this bolt here, but by keep your 12mm on here and use your 10 so this doesn't move. Do the same on the other side, fasten your axle, and then you're good to go. Note, with the newer Fireblades 2017 and up, this axle bolt here is a 36 and not a 32, so it's a 36. And what I tend to do is I don't torque these to 135 newtons. I normally do it by hand because I can normally feel there how tight it needs to be. You can put a torque wrench on there and torque it to that, but yeah, I rarely do that. I normally use my arm and then feel, okay, that's lacquer tight. So that's what I normally do on the rear bolt, but you could torque it. It's 135 Newton meters of torque. I'll put it on the screen, and it's a 36 socket. Okay, so now we're ready to torque our front output shaft bolt, this one here. And you don't have to. Honda doesn't say anything about the manual about putting thread locker on. I do to the first 3 threads. I put on the blue Loctite Pratt lock. It's here by us, it's Pratt lock or Loctite. I put on the blue one. Never use the red, you'll never get the thing off again. So yeah, and just apply like 2 little spots, small amount if you do want to. You don't have to. This bolt's torque is 54 Newton meters of torque, so I'm just turning it out. And as you guys can see, I'm just going to apply a small little bit of thread lock on the beginning threads. It's actually a little bit too much, but it's okay. So it's just on the beginning threads. I'm going to put the bolt back in. Also make sure that this is completely grease free, oil free on the inside of your threads, else your thread locker and your bolt won't torque right. If you have grease, it's going to over torque the bolt, so it must be dry and clean, which I did check everything beforehand. So 54 Newton meters of torque is 100%. Got my torque wrench set to 54. Okay, put it up on board. And now that bolt is torqued to 54 Newton meters. And with the thread locker, it takes about full cure, 20 minutes to cure. Full cure is about 24 hours. So that's it. That's all the torque you put on there is 54 Newton meters. The next part we're going to do is reinstalling our chain guard / cover. you'll see I've cleaned mine up pretty well. All the dirt and gunk out there. This little steel piece also does come out. I've cleaned under there. So we're going to put that back. I don't know how clearly you guys are going to be able to see in here, because it's going to be hard for me to push the cables and have the camera. So I'm just going to get things out the way. I'm just checking. Okay, I can move them. So you'll remember from before, I've got my bolts in already where we had them. I'm just putting them down here, so we don't get mixed up. I like to keep things where they came out. Okay, so now I like to double check things, so I'm just going to put this bolt on top, back. Okay, and then the bottom one. Okay, so this little cover's back. Just going to go ahead and tighten this cover. This doesn't need a lot of torque, guys, just a little bit. And then I'll be back with the quick shifter's little bar. It's that side, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, it's now time to reassemble our quick shifter. What you want to do first is take it out here, put it one side, because it was going to be in the way of the cover. So we're first just going to take this little bolt out, else this thing won't slide over. So we're going to remove our bolt. Once this little bolt's out, I don't know if you guys can remember, but there's a little notch on there, and I'm going to have a hard time showing you guys here, but there's a little notch here that, let's do it like this, sorry about that, but more or less you can see, okay, your cable's not straining, and then that little notch, you've got to get it in the middle of those, exactly like that, how I've done it there. And you can slide this on, you don't have to slide it on all the way. I've got my little notch on the brake, and that's where you want it, on that little brake. And then we're going to take our bolt, coming here from the top. We're not fastening this just yet, and you might have to move this around to get your, if you feel your bolt isn't going in. I feel, okay, mine's going in. If you push this too far on the shaft, the bolt won't go in, but I can feel my bolt's going in pretty smooth. So I'm just going to do that, and as you guys can see, it's on the little crack, little notch. Then from there, we're going to put in our little bar, and with this little bar, you're going to start from the bottom, turn it in a couple of threads, make sure this little, these like two sides where you put the 8mm spanner is on top, and we're going to take this bottom piece with the threads there. I'm going to start screwing it onto some threads so that it takes nicely. You'll feel it. I do a couple of threads and then I lift it. So if you had to count, it's probably like a couple. I don't know exactly how to tell you, but once you guys put these two together, it'll fasten even more on both ends. So as you can see, the top there, once it starts taking there, if you look now at that bottom, it's going to thread it in even more, as you turn it, it's going to thread it in even more, and it's also threading in it at the top. So here's where you guys want to just like play around, because obviously this is also adjusting your height of your gear lever. So there it's trial and error, playing around, getting it to where you had it, or maybe a little bit up, a little bit down. It depends. I know more or less mine's there because I'll play around with it. It's a little bit too high, but I like getting my boot in quite easily there. I don't like struggling, so I don't like this too low. But that's all personal preference. And then once we have that in place like that, you're going to lock this little bar with your 8mm spanner, and with your 10 you're going to lock this nut against there, and the same for the bottom nut. You're just going to lock them, and then you're done. But obviously make sure this little bar, I didn't show you now, make sure it's something like that, or I normally try and hide it. I do it like that, so you don't see the, what's his name's, oh, it's a personal thing. So, but that's how I do it. And that's how to, once you've done this and you got this right, you just go ahead and take your 10mm spanner and just tighten this down again. I don't torque that, I just make it hand tight up to where I feel, okay, that's quite nice. That's what I do there. But then your quick shift to the side. So we're at the point where we're putting the belly fairing back at the bottom. So I'm going to go and get that. And again, I'm going to put it through from this side. I'm going to take it here. But I want to scratch it, so I'm trying to get it in here and around here. I'm just going to put it down like that. See, spot is quite tricky. I mean, for me to show you guys how to get the clips in front is not easy, but I mean, you guys will figure it out. It's really not that hard. I'm just going to go clip it in on the other side, and you can see you've got to finesse it and play with it and get it all clipped in there. But you can do it. It just takes a little while. Just going on this side to do the same. Now we should just be able to put our little screws in this side. I'm going to have to go and get them. Nothing should be forced, everything should be pretty easy. As you can see me turning this in there. There's no forcing the plastics and stuff. Everything clips in and finds its little place. We're still going to have to get the little pipes after we've tightened this all three through here again. Little drain pipes. And then I'm going to go and do the other side. I haven't shown you guys the other side of fastening all these bolts, but I mean, I have many other tutorials where you can see me taking this belly fairing off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on. So that's it. We're just going to go around putting all these bolts in both sides, and then we're done. Until next time, I hope this video helps some of you out there, especially on the newer blades. I don't think there's a video out for doing this on the 2017 to 2026 RR, so enjoy.